you wouldn't be, no, he said, you wouldn't be wrong if you said the following, in his opinion, that J.J. McCarthy is not a top 5 pick. And I said, well, wait a minute. Are you talking about the actuality of him taken in the top 5 or talent-wise? And he said, both. That he thinks that this is, we created Will Levis last year. Like, remember, he was going to go in the top 5. So there's certain players that we create. And maybe there's hype. Jim Harbaugh behind J.J. McCarthy. And his feeling is, while he thinks J.J. McCarthy is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL at some point, that have we created this J.J. McCarthy buzz? And I said, okay. And he said, another possibility is that, Brock Bowers, the great tight end at Georgia, that he's a top 10 talent. And although he's going to be viewed sort of as a wide receiver, even though he's a great tight end, that he thinks the Colts might be all in to go up and get Brock Bowers. So those are just some of the thoughts. Also, the Chargers, when this first started, and I said, I'm told they're going offensive linemen. And then all of a sudden we had all of this. They're going to trade out. And, they're going to maybe take Alt from Notre Dame. J.C. Latham is now the latest. We have, Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft. Also Peter Schrager today from NFL Network. They have Chargers taking an offensive lineman. Jim Harbaugh is going to do old school. Like he's not a fancy guy. He's going to get back to blocking, tackling, and if you need a big play, then Justin Herbert's going to hopefully help you out there. That's what Jim does. That's how he's built his teams everywhere. San Diego, Stanford, Niners, Michigan, and now back to the NFL. But these are just some of the things. Now, granted, this is one person's opinion, somebody who I trust, who's saying Jim Harbaugh helped create J.J. McCarthy. That really good quarterback at Michigan, but is he a top 5 pick? And I said, okay. So I'm thinking about if I said the over-under for J.J. McCarthy is 5.5 right now, what would you take? Is anybody taking the under on J.J. McCarthy? Seton?
And saying he'll go later then?
No, you think he'll go inside the top 5?
Oh, no, definitely not.
Okay.
No.
Anybody think? Because I was also, I ask about this with the Giants. The Giants keep telling us they're taking a quarterback, right? Have you heard the Giants are taking anybody else but, you know what? If they really like Drake May and they really like J.J. McCarthy, hey, what if Penix, if they could, somehow get, I was like, okay. So I never trust somebody if they tell you what they're going to do. And the Giants keep saying they're going to take a quarterback. What if they don't? What if they go, we were taking wide receiver all along here, or offensive lineman here? So those are a couple of observations from somebody who I trust, who was telling me this morning. Because I said, there's no real buzz here. There's nothing happening yet. And his thought was, he sees Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. The Cardinals probably take Marvin Harrison. The Chargers take an offensive lineman. Then he said, the Giants might take a wide receiver. Then it gets a little more interesting. 7, 8, 9, 10 gets a little more interesting. Where's Michael Penix? Bo Nix? Does Denver wait? So there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. Does J.J. McCarthy just drop down to the Vikings that they don't have to trade? So these are just some of the things that are at least being discussed with no agenda attached to this, because my source, he doesn't have an agenda with this. He just says, hey, sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. But these are things that, he's been at the combine. He's been in these interview rooms. So he knows what's going on with a lot of these draft picks. And also the tendencies for GMs, because that's another thing. If you have certain GMs who like to trade down, the Eagles may be trading up, just tendencies that you have. Patriots trade down. The Raiders with that GM, is he going to trade down? Yeah, Paulie.
It's really interesting the way the draft sets up. The second hour of the draft could be more interesting than the first hour. Minnesota's at 11, Denver's at 12, Las Vegas at 13. All three of those reportedly want quarterbacks. who sits and waits. So it's interesting that the second hour could be fun.
Yeah, and that's how this was presented, because you have campaigns, you have agents involved. Agents, the media gobbles it up. The media wants information. All of a sudden, somebody says, "Hey, you know what I'm hearing? Great, I got new content here." And look, I've said this before with the Chargers. I thought Brock Bowers made, because they lost their wide receivers. Do they go after Brock Bowers? Well, he's not your typical tight end. He's a tight end that can get down the field. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh wants a George Kittle type who can run, or he can block, but he can also catch and run. Not that there are a lot of George Kittles, but you got Sam Laporta, out of Iowa last year in the second round, I believe. And that's another thing that I was told this morning. Man, I'm out of breath because he gave me so much information. He said, teams build, 2 through 7. Like, first round is great. You can't miss on that. But 2 through 7 is where you build a roster. And if you look at what some of these teams, did last year, when you're looking at these picks and you're going, so the league's 4 highest paid wide receivers, Amon Ross, St. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, they were selected 2 or later. Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta, they weren't selected in the first round. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, they were selected in round 2. So as much attention as we give the first round, certainly the quarterbacks, you're going to build your roster and you're going to look back and say, where'd they draft that guy? Where'd they get him? And then chances are it won't be in the first round. But just some information here to start off your day. Got a long day ahead of us. Stat of the day brought to you by Panini America, the official trading cards of the Dan Patrick Show. Had some basketball last night. We'll recap that in a little greater detail. The draft starts at 8 Eastern tonight. But Heat beat the Celtics last night. Thunder rolled the Pelicans. Tonight, Cavs, Magic, Knicks, 76ers, Nuggets, and the Lakers. Seton, what do we have today?
Here's another one for you. Wide receiver more likely to be traded today.
Ooh.
Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins?
I'm going to say neither, because I think maybe after the draft. Because if teams go, hey, if we get that guy, then we're not interested. But if we don't get that guy, then, all right, what are we giving up for Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins? So I would say neither gets traded. Maybe after the draft, maybe over the weekend or next week. Yes, Paul.
To sauce that poll up, could we add Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams?
Heck yeah.
Whilst unlikely, possible.
I would say neither. I don't think anybody's getting traded yet. T. Higgins wants out, and Brandon Ayuk, I think, wants out as well. Although the Niners say, hey, we want to keep you. But if you're interested, how about a first-round draft pick?
But of the two, which one would be more likely, even if you don't think either one of them is going to happen?
You're pressing me.
Yes, now I am.
Okay.
I want you to answer the question.
Answer the question! I want the truth!
It's a legendary scene, isn't it?
I just watched that movie about 2 weeks ago.
Did he overact in that scene?
Who?
Nicholson.
No.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tom Cruise.
Well, I was going to say that too.
Because it turns out that's kind of his move.
Tom Cruise?
Overacting, yeah.
It felt like he was trying to keep up with Nicholson.
Right.
Because Jack just has that, where Tom doesn't. So I think Tom had to kind of Nicholson the scene a little bit.
It's weird. Tom Cruise made an unbelievable career out of being a semi-charming wise ass in every movie. That's essentially who he is.
And a guy who runs in every movie.
Every movie he has
got
to
run.
His own stunts.
Got to run. Thank you, Todd.